Good evening and welcome to the Kim B. Davis Show. I'm your host, Kim B. Davis, and this evening we have one of our favorite guests with us. We have Dr. Angela Celeste May. We know her as our clinical, our organizational, and our forensically trained psychologist. She is also the president and co-founder of A.M. and Associates Incorporated, the president and founder of Celeste Productions Incorporated. She's an author, editor, musician, and she is a 2023 Distinguished or President's Distinction Award from the Michigan Psychological Association Foundation. Yes, I know that's a mouthful. She's also the first Black chair-elect of the Michigan Health Council Trustee Board in its 82-year history, so she's also blazing trails. And she helped create a column for the Michigan Women's Forum for Phenomenal Michigan Women titled Stars, Scholars Teaming to Alleviate Racism in Society. It was an anthology, and it was part of the Michigan Women's Foundation. So not only is she counseling and giving us, but advice and information, but she also writes and produces it also. Welcome to the show, Dr. Angie. We are so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Kim. It is always a pleasure to be with you.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, let's get right to it. I am so excited to talk about this topic. So I want to talk about Black people and political fatigue. You know, there's a lot, and I mean a lot, going on right now. Every day there's news article, there's all kinds of stuff happening, and it is really difficult to keep up. However, I find it interesting. Dr. Angie, why do you think that Black people are not engaged? We hear a lot of different groups of people marching, women's groups, Latino, Hispanic, um, Asian, Pacific Islander, all these different groups that are marching, and then just regular, average, everyday Americans. But Black
Mhm.
people have said, "Nah, I think I'm gonna sit this one. I'm gonna sit back." Y'all, the phrasing that has been said to me is, "They need to fix this." What do you make of that, Dr. Angie?
I make of that couple different things. I make of that. On the one hand, it's exactly as you said, kind of the title of this discussion, the fatigue, and the fatigue, the black fatigue, if you will, black political fatigue is it's not just based on any recent history. We have been fighting, and I will add, successfully fighting, winning fights, winning battles. We get knocked down, we get back up. We have historically played the long game,
Mhm.
um, from not even being considered a citizen all the way to the civil rights bill and all that it took to get there. So we've been fighting in terms of rights, not only for ourselves and our fellow Black folks, but for everyone. Um, so that fatigue comes from a long history of being in these fights. Um, and having, yes, we've had successes for sure. Sometimes I know people can get, mentally, psychologically, and emotionally, spiritually tired, and it just feels like, oh my gosh, here we go again on this wheel. But if we point to some of the things that we have fought for and won, even in this climate, we still at this moment are able to share the sidewalk with someone who is considered white by this country. There was a time, for those listeners around the world who, and even some of the younger generation in this country who may not be, our country, who may not be aware of it, there was a time when if a white person was walking towards you, you had to, as a Black person, you had to step into the street. You had to cast your eyes down and not look them in the eye. You had to go to the back of the bus. All those kinds of the things that we hear about in the history books and read about. um it was Those things were not that long ago, actually, and those things were real, and those things were damaging. So do we have a long way to go? Absolutely. Do we have all the rights and the things that we fought for? No, we do not. But it's very important, as I always say, it's very important to look at the whole picture, and that includes the victories that we still have to this day. So um, I do make of it a weariness and a tiredness for all of the lives and all of the loss and all of the that it took to win those changes for ourselves and for others. So that's one part of it, is that long history of fatigue. That's one part. Another part is that I would say is because of that history, we've seen so much of this before. I mean, you and I have talked about it. We've seen people on social media saying this, that we meaning Black people, and definitely Black women, have been such the backbone of this democracy, that we fought for to make it a true democracy, to make it, Black people have we have fought to make our constitution and the wording and the intention to live up to what it says it's we're supposed to be about. um and so in addition to that long history of fatigue, I also make of it that we have uh, felt a lot of times that while we've had allies who weren't, considered Black in our country, but white, et cetera, that who have definitely fought this fight, along with us, that we've joined together in many, many different instances. Even with that being said, um and even with some loss of life, no doubt, and some bloodshed, absolutely no doubt, of folks who were not Black to help, with this fight, for sure, because it's all of our fight.
Mhm.
Even with that being said, we've done so much leading, and it's not just being tired of leading, but as we talked about after this last election that we had in our country,
Mhm.
when so many people were disappointed. We've not just led, but we've had a history of experiencing the emotional and psychological, mental, what felt like demoralization, really, of when it's convenient. Sometimes those that we thought were allies turned out not to be allies when it was convenient for them to step in and step out. Now, there are true allies who have stepped in there and stayed in there to, even to the loss of life, for sure. And not that it always has to go to that, but they've really been there, and there's no doubt about that. But there are also those, too often, non-Black folks who have stepped in when it felt convenient for them, and then maybe when it got a little too hot in the kitchen, they stepped back out. But we remained, out in the front lines. And so I make of some of this fatigue being tired of seeing what feels like the same movie. We've seen the same movie before. We've
Mhm.
seen the same reel before. So the as you put it, the stepping back of a lot of Black people, and you all need to fix this. A lot of that comes from we've we've fixed it and fought for it, and worked to make it and worked to make it work, and we've all for decades, literally centuries, really. um
Mhm.
and so I make of that, yes, fatigue, but also a realization that it takes more than just saying you're an ally. It takes more than just saying you're, for these things that we say that we're wanting in this democracy. It's time for someone else to lead, kind of feeling. Step to the
Mhm.
side and see what you're going to do. And to say that let's try carrying that burden among more people than we've typically seen it. More, and what I mean by that is, carried by not only those who are the most victimized by a system that was designed to maintain white supremacy in this country, but
Mhm.
not just those who are most victimized by it, but let's our what we're doing by saying I'll step back is the challenging people to say, well, you know what, let's really put our money where our mouth is. Let's have you put your money where your mouth is, and let's carry this burden, among all of us who are living together on this island we call the United States of America. So there is that. And then I'll just also add, um, whereas that's definitely in the milieu, that those feelings are definitely there, for sure. Um, being involved in a lot of organizations myself, a lot of nonprofit organizations, from the Association of Black Psychologists to Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. There's these Black organizations, nonprofits, and we partner. All of these. We partner with others, the Urban League, the NAACP. Being involved in those myself, and working together with others for social justice and things like that. What I am seeing that may not always make it to the social media sphere, what I'm seeing in real life is that the fight is ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely, by no means are Black people as a whole just going and sitting down or dipping in and dipping out. Um, that work does continue, that it does continue. And one of the things that I'll say about that is you can tell it by the strategery that is in place, whether
Mm-hmm.
we're front and center visible or not. Some of the infrastructure that is being used to help fight against the authoritarian movement in our country at this time is based on and was built by people in these kinds of organizations. So
Mm-hmm.
that passion is still there, and the desire for the right things, meaning that we all, have this democracy that we all fought for. It is still there, but I think it looks a little different. People on the ground who are part of the citizenry at large, and the
Mm-hmm.
and the communities, are a lot of them are doing as you're saying, not rushing to the forefront, but
Right.
maybe supporting from behind while sipping that coffee, while
Mm-hmm.
hanging feet off the edge of the building. The coffee, the water, whatever it may
Right, right,
be. Yes.
whatever it is. Yes.
Not rushing to the front. But
Mm-hmm.
but what I'm picking up is, while not doing that, there's a lot of this mentality, this attitude. We'll see. Sit back, and it's not just a sit back, it's a sit back and let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've seen some of this act before, where
Mm-hmm.
people didn't necessarily follow through, or they try to do a little something, and then, and they get when they get a little stumble, they turn to us to do the brunt work, kind of thing. But then
Mm-hmm.
there's also some of that we'll see is hope. I do
Right.
believe that some of that is hope born out of an ongoing desire to see these things fixed. So I don't see people just completely out of it. Like, it's kind of like, yeah, yeah, we'll see, but I hope so.
Right.
We'll see, but I hope so, kind of thing. So that's some of what I make of it.
And you are absolutely correct. There was an article that was talking about the farmers across the
Mhm,
country. And because so many of their workers have been rounded up, these day labor people who come and work for minimum wages
mhm.
and do back-breaking work, picking fruits and different things. It's not like, well, you just go and you pick one orange. No, you got to go pick several, and you got to go make sure that the tree is healthy and that the oranges that you pick are good quality, because these have to be sold, all these different things. And someone said the quiet part out loud. Well, we thought after you deported everybody that the black people were going to come. And now
No.
they're realizing, yes, that I saw that, and I had
Oh
heard this
my.
before, and they said, but they're not coming. And I cackled because I want to say, yes, no, we're not coming. The days of us working in the fields and in plantations, those days are over. Um, on the flip side of what we're talking about, I found it interesting that you have DC, of course, that was deluged with National Guard, military, ICE agents, all these people. We've seen it in California. Even when I was in California, I didn't necessarily see it, but I kept seeing it in LA. And I wasn't in LA, I was in a different part of California. But what I am noticing, what made me proud, Black people aren't standing idly by as
Mhm.
these things are happening. When the National Guard comes up to your porch, well, what are you doing? Well, who are you? What do you want? Just because you have a gun and a badge, this is my domain. This is my residence. I belong here. I'm a city. You see people pushing back. I saw a horrible video yesterday of a pregnant woman who was being threatened by a white man.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was. It looked like it was a parking spot, something, but he walked up to her and felt like he could get in her face. And this wonderful, intelligent black man said, "Get away from her." And the white man was upset. "You can't tell me what to do." And so he hit the white man, hit the black man, and the black man popped him in the face. "You hit me." And I'm like, "But you hit him first." Okay, what are what are we talking about? And so it's one of these things where, like you said, things in the past. I have grandparents, great grandparents. I heard the stories. My grandfather would tell me the story when I was a kid where he was pulled out of a building because a black man went to the bathroom because there were no bathrooms for black people. There was
Mhm.
white only. If you were a black person, you had to, bathrooms were scarce. And some man went behind a building. A white woman, of course, saw it, assumed that all of that was for her, instead of this man just having to alleviate himself because he had to urinate. Because black people are people too. I'm saying,
That's what I've heard. I've
yeah.
heard that they are,
I'm just gonna
that
let
we
that sit
are.
there for a
I've
minute.
heard
Yes,
that.
that we are human. We bleed red just like everybody else. Although blood is not red, it's black. But anyway, we go to the bathroom just like everybody else. We eat, we read books, we are educated, all the things that
Mhm.
everybody else does, we do. And this woman went to the police and they went through different businesses looking for who this man was. My grandfather was one of the random people pulled out. Thankfully, she didn't pick him because she could have. And
Mhm.
he, that would have been the end of it. I might not be here.
Mhm.
Um, it's one of those things that you do remember. I am often the person that's walking on a sidewalk, and I've noticed white people being a little bit more aggressive. Like, "You need to move." I'm like, "No, you need to move. I was here first. I'm not moving. I'm not casting my eyes down. I have just as much money, maybe more than you. I don't know. Don't care. That's not. But I have every reason and right to be here."
Absolutely.
And so it is interesting when you see black people pushing back.
Mhm. It's heartening, I think.
It is.
I think
And
it's
so
heartening.
talk about that, Dr. Angie. What does that say? What do you think?
Well, it says that we know our rights.
Yes.
It says that we are much more well informed than a lot of times we're given credit for. And I don't just mean ignorant, like, you're just uninformed. You don't, because ignorance means to be uneducated about something or
Yeah.
uninformed about something. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with your mental faculties.
Correct.
But um, to me, it tells me that we are informed of our rights. We know what is going on, and to my point, we may not be out there in the ways that we were out there before in terms of visibility, and some of that's very strategic as well. As
Hmm.
we had talked about this idea of letting the ones with most privilege perhaps in this country to be out there, and sometimes that's very effective. Sometimes it may be more effective depending on which
Hmm.
pocket of the country we're dealing with,
Right.
to let those white voices, which are very passionate white voices, push.
Hmm.
But we're there, on the sidelines or whatever it is, or helping to organize things. But it tells me we know our rights. But in terms of rights, in terms of our knowledge of what's going on, I don't just mean knowledge about what's going on in terms of what's on paper and what the law is. We know the law, we know, et cetera, our rights, et cetera. But I also mean that it lets us know, it lets me know that we are not just that easily convinced by some statement let out by the White House, or some propaganda that's designed to make us cower, or some social media that may be put out by sympathizers
Yes.
of ICE agents, or etc. That we know, again, to that history, we know our strength, We know our collective strength. We're knowledgeable. We are informed. And we know how to get at and find out the truth of what's going on. And we're not just going to just, stand back and just be directed to be told what to do and where to go. And the truth is we've never been like that. Like we've
Mm,
always worked to push back in ways that we could or can find out information, pass along information. We That whole Underground Railroad thing, that grapevine,
yes,
that
yes.
we get information to each other. So yeah, it's definitely heartening. And it's also heartening to me because people are willing to continue standing up and not being cowed,
Mhm.
not going to be cowed. So that's a good thing. And that's what we need. That is what we need to be able to continue and get past this era that we are in, which I'm
Yes.
looking forward to. Yes.
I'm looking for.
I'm sorry, I was gonna say, but there are definitely lessons in the
Mhm,
going through it for sure,
mhm, mm,
for a lot of us to learn. In our last conversation, we were talking about how the very thing that was not expected, the
mm,
nonsense that's been going on politically, that was designed to shut us down, shut our mouths, and try to erase our history, which was never going to work anyway,
right.
has done the opposite. It's just really exploded that. So to me, the pushback, it's all part of that. That
Mhm.
too is part of that pushback. So we continue to share knowledge, information, support each other, like that wonderful gentleman did for that pregnant young lady, or pregnant woman, and stand up for each other. Um, and it speaks to, again, how the worst of circumstances can buoy us in ways we didn't expect. And sometimes we find even more of our own strength and courage through that.
Mhm.
All of those things, I think, are heartening and good things to see and necessary.
And we're survivors.
A-
We've been surviving.
No doubt.
We
No
were
doubt.
surviving and we're thriving. So last
Absolutely.
question, Dr. Angie, because Black people have a joy right now, which
Mhm.
is amazing to see. There's a song about the fans. So I see people carrying their fans. They're like, "Where them fans at?" It's like Black people line dancing. I said, "When did we start line dancing?" I was like, "Oh, I guess I got to start line dancing." People, I mean, you got people that have hobbies. They're cooking. They're doing all kinds of healthy things like yoga and meditation and
Yeah.
really embracing their relationship with their creator and just
Mhm.
all these fun things.
Yes. I love it.
That's a great coping mechanism. What does that say about Black people as a whole, Dr. Angie?
Oh my goodness. It speaks to everything you said, that we are survivors, that we do thrive.
Mhm,
And that one of the reasons that we survive is we are extremely resourceful. We are
mhm,
extremely creative, and we are extremely brilliant. So the creativity and the brilliant, all of that works together, that that we find ways to feed our souls. We find ways to through connectivity with each other, to through the things like you were describing. We are in an era, as we've been for a while, of self-love,
yes,
regardless of your background. Take better care of yourself, and what that looks like. Don't let age stop you. Don't let socioeconomic status stop you, from finding those things that you love and trying to work to cultivate those things. All of those things feed the soul. They feed us emotionally. They have positive impacts on our happy hormones, on our endorphins, all of that. It helps to bring the high levels of cortisol down, the stress hormone. So those things have physiological effects as well as emotional and psychological effects, because those are all tied together. And we can never leave out the spiritual aspect
mm,
at all. That's weaved all through it. So to me, it tells me that we continue to be a highly spiritual people, who every one of us, as an individual, may not be on the same place on the journey, on the road to learning how to be connected to our
mm,
maker. But there is a through line for all of us, that and people are spiritual people. Our people in particular have had a long, since ancient times, since the beginning of
right.
time, a long history of connecting to our maker. And that really speaks to everything from our identity, our self-esteem, how we carry ourselves. And the fact that, like you said, we are still here today, thriving, building. We never stopped building. We know
Right.
we've built towns, we've built businesses. Uh,
Mhm.
Folks have come against those things. Folks have tried to take them away. Folks have tried to burn them down, and we always just continue to build. And that
Yep.
includes building wealth as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it just tells me how resilient we are, how creative and brilliant. And in addition to all of those things, what I love, because I operate this way, and I'm loving seeing this. Not that people have to be like me, but um, as much of a news junkie as as we are, we consume information, what's going on, etc.
Right.
I, particularly in this particular era, I I compartmentalize taking it in because I want to stay informed. I want to know what's going on. Personally, I want to know what I'm praying about and all of the
Right.
rest, what I need to pray for, and etc. But at the same time, to your point about the joy, it's in its place.
Mhm.
It's in its place. It's important. We need to know. Yes, there are people truly suffering. That's absolutely true as a result of, the nonsense and the ICE agents and all that. We need to be aware and contribute in any ways that we can or feel comfortable fighting that. If it's just, donating to something or putting a little, whatever it may be. But it tells me that we don't let it consume us. It is not our whole life,
Yes.
and which is why we're able to and have a desire to and are following through with the hobbies and the travel and all of that. Again, I just repeating that idea of in so many ways we've been here before. We have
Mhm.
been here before, and I have to add this as well. That
Please.
whole idea of us being having been here before. The more I learn, because we're always learning, right? And as we were talking about, we're learning more about our history, our background, and I learned something today that I'm ashamed to say it hadn't occurred to me. As much as I've traveled to Europe, and I sang in Russia and toured in Ireland and all the rest, in England, and I've been to Paris twice, and I've been to London. Um, we know, of course, that Black folks are everywhere, and there are Black inventors, and there, all of that in every part of the world, including Europe. But there was
Mhm.
a wonderful clip I came across on, social media, in which the gentleman, who is French, he's a Black Frenchman, and he was talking about just how much Black folks from the diaspora, from the African diaspora, have contributed to and built Europe. And of course, he's absolutely right. And he's naming,
Mhm.
these great literary artists. And I'm forgetting the gentleman, but one of my favorite books in high school, The Count of Monte Cristo, of course.
Yes, I love
Three
that one.
Musketeers, all,
Yes.
all written by a Black man.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I've like heard it before, but something about the way he put it, and it really brought it home to me in context that I'm guilty of. We all tend to do this, and it's not by accident because it's how it's sold.
Mhm.
Is that Europe means white, just like America supposedly means white, with some color around the edges.
Mhm. Mhm.
None of which it has been the case, and I was like, wow, of course he's absolutely right.
Mhm.
So I'm learning. I'm enjoying continuing to learn, and I am loving how much that is ongoing, and that's a part of that joy.
Mhm.
Um, as survivors, one of our African traditions it's been around, long before this country was ever called the United States, or that this continent was called North America.
Mhm.
As ancient people, we've always understood that how we identify ourselves, what you name your child, our
Yeah.
identity is so much tied to our spiritual and emotional and psychological well-being and thriving. And
Mhm.
that's what I'm loving seeing. I'm loving seeing people. Yes, there are definitely some folks, more than some folks, who are nervous, a little kind of scared what is happening, at this time, but they're not letting it stop their lives.
Yes,
And I
absolutely.
love that to me, that tells me that we continue as a people to
Mhm.
not allow oppression to be our entire identity, and
Absolutely.
our entire, that makes all that we are. And more than not allowing it, consciously and daily pushing back with joy, exactly like you said. So
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah. So and I really should hesitate to say oppress. People are attempting to oppress, but we
Yes,
are not oppressed.
absolutely. Not at all.
Absolutely not.
Not at
And
all.
which is your point. We are really we are really living in joy, and I think that's a great
It
gift that we give. Mhm.
it is a great gift, and that's a great way to end our podcast. Thank you, Dr. Angie. Before we get out of here, tell us how we can follow you on social media and how we can reach out to you via email and what you
Thank
have coming up.
Thank you for asking. I always appreciate you so much. Let's see. Well, people can find me on it's always Angela Celeste May or Dr. Angela Celeste May on Facebook. I have two pages on Facebook, YouTube, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. You can find me all those places. You can also find me at amaassociates.com, which is my company. We with my sister Michelle May, so we are a counseling, consulting, and coaching company. So you can go to our Facebook pages, our Instagram page, as well as our website to see things that are coming up that we have going on. Um, what else? I continue to teach music from my studio here in Detroit at Marygrove Conservancy. I teach voice and piano, and so if anyone is interested in lessons, you can always call Marygrove Conservancy. I don't have the number at my fingertips, but you can Google the number in Detroit, Michigan. I don't have any performances coming up at this moment. I'm doing more writing, which I'm very excited about, getting back to writing some original music. Um, and other kinds of writing as well. I teach psychology at Wayne County Community College District in the psychology department. So I'm teaching a course this fall, and so I want to let everyone know that if you are interested, we meaning the Association of Black Psychologists Metro Detroit chapter, we are hosting a symposium for the public on mental health and mental health in the community, definitely mental health in our Black community, but all are welcome. And it will be held at University of Detroit Mercy in Detroit, um, which you're familiar with, on
And
October 18th. Yes. So go to our website at Metro Detroit Association of Black Psychologists and look at events, and you will see the information there. So that's a lot of what I have going on at the moment. I do have my book, which is Freedom: What is the Experience of Living Without Negative Self-Imposed Limitations. I really want to do research on resilience, and even though I have not even though, but in addition to my doctorate degree and my dissertation, which dealt with diversity issues, actually, diversity in business, that particular book, Freedom, was my master's thesis. So I interviewed a wonderful group of people from all different kinds of backgrounds, a huge range of ages, and there were 7 themes that came out of that. So I titled it Freedom because um, the 7 key themes that came out of it dealt with how each of these people were able to get from a place of being stuck in their lives in some manner to getting free from that. And so I have used that information in terms of my book for I created a course at a 5-week course at Oakland Community College here in Detroit. I've done a lot with it, and for those who have read it, they have found it very enlightening, very helpful, and I'm thankful for that because the themes are fairly universal for people of all different backgrounds. So I encourage you to pick it up at barnesandnoble.com or Ex Libris, which is the publisher website as well. And I do have music out there also on iTunes and on Reverb Nation / Angela Celeste May. So that's I think everything I've got going on. There's other stuff, but I have other going on at the moment. At the moment, there's always other stuff.
well, we appreciate you, Dr. Angie. I know you are super busy, but I thank you that you always give us time where we can talk and you give us good and wise counsel and good advice and especially with so much of what's going on in today's world, it is good to have someone with a professional capacity to be able to break it down the way that you do so that we
Thank
can
you.
take it in bite-sized nuggets and really truthfully understand what it is that you're saying. So thank you.
Absolutely. I do. I so appreciate it. And I just before we get off, I just wanted to encourage your listeners and your watchers in terms of what we've been talking about. If you do find yourself feeling down or sad or anxious or nervous about these things that are going on. It affects all of us. It certainly affects all of us. We're all human. Do connect with people that you feel safe with in your life. Hold your loved ones close, whether it's clergy, whether it's family, friends, even if just one or two, have someone in your life that you can talk these things through. Write about it, journal. It's important not to carry that anxiety and fearfulness with you. And of course, if anyone is feeling that they need additional professional help, I encourage people to reach out for therapy if that is something they feel that can be definitely be helpful. And there are many Black psychologists out there. So psychology for Black girls is one option that you can go to .com on online to find resources. And what is it, Psychology Today. There are
Mm-hmm.
just all kinds of lots of excellent Black clinicians if that's what you're looking for across the country. So just to put that in there as well.
Thank you, Dr. Angie. See, that's why we love you.
Thank you. I love you back. Absolutely.
Thank you, thank you. So you guys, you know me as Kim B. Davis. I'm your host of the Kim B. Davis Show. You can find me on youtube.com/Kimberly Bachelor Davis. You can hear this show on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, and Wisdom. You can find me on Snapchat, TikTok, Blue Sky, Spill, Fanbase, Instagram, Facebook, X, Twitter, LinkedIn, of course. To find out more information about me as an author, you can look me up at kimbdavis.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you'll join us on our next episode. And as always, remember, be magnificent.